to the end. There's nobody like you, God. You say you are.
You are Alpha and Omega.
You're the beginning. You're a mighty, strong
tower.
Oh God,
Oh God, I'll be with you till the end.
'cause there is nobody like you. There is nobody like you. Sing, there's nobody. Yeah, 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 yeah. There is nobody. There is nobody. I searched all over, there's nobody. There is nobody. You're a mighty, strong tower. There is no one like you. You're a mighty, strong tower. There is no one like you. You're a mighty, strong tower. Nobody like you, say. Mighty strong tower.
Hello again to Joyful Heart Praise. I'm your host, Geraldine.
I'm Letha.
I'm Ty.
Hello, my name is Marcus Young.
Seriously?
Yeah, he went there.
I am a African American male.
No.
He said now.
Male.
Oh,
Oh, like he wasn't before?
that's what I
He came
thought.
on
That's
last
what I
week?
thought. He'd have to, raise up his voice.
I'm an African American male. And I am an entrepreneur and self-employed and amongst other things. And now I'm going to turn it over to Tyrone. You better call
No,
Tyrone.
I really do not like
Call him. Tell him, come on, help you get your. Hey, Geraldine.
Come on.
She like them words. She's like, get to it.
Yeah, hurry up. I just want to say it.
Hey,
Cheese spot.
Hey,
Cheese
hey. Listen, today one of my favorite topics. We're going to talk about language, in particular, Ebonics.
What is Ebonics,
Yes.
and where did that come from?
Well, you ever heard of the word phonics?
Oh, okay.
So Ebonics is a derivative of the word phonics. It means the ebony version
That
of
boy from the
phonics.
school, ain't he? Don't he sound like he does?
He sound like
He sound like he went into professor mode.
I know, he
The
don't
only
know
reason why I
Heard of the
know
word
that
phonics?
is because
Phonics.
educated. I know you.
Ebonics is, what did you say, the derivative?
it's derivative of the word.
Derivative. Don't it sound like it almost sound like a
I didn't even grab my shirt.
Right. It sounds like the cross between a 900 operator and the people in time, right? Hey,
That was all
ladies.
derivative, don't
Hey,
you?
ladies. I know it's late at night, and you're a derivative. You're
I can't hear myself. I'm going back into my cave.
You're a derivative.
I ain't coming in there no more. I can't hear none of y'all.
Go ahead, Ty.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ty.
But
I'm sorry.
it was created. It's a man-made created thing to explain the language of black people. And many other cultures have adopted that language. Many races have adopted that language. But it was made to explain some of the jargon that we used based upon the language that was passed down from our generations, from our former generations. So a lot of times now, we're living in a society that frowns upon Ebonics because there are alternatives to education as opposed to just passing it down from family member to family member. You can go to school now, whereas before education wasn't as acceptable or accessible as it is now. And so we have this dualistic mentality where people say, well, you shouldn't speak like that because it's a slavery mentality. Yeah. And then on the other side of the continuum is when you speak proper English, people say you're talking white. And so you have
rather
this.
than talking educated.
Right. Other than saying, like, using proper English is a slap in the face to the ethnic background and culture that we are.
Hey, listen. I used to do not telemarketing. I used to do customer service over the phone, and I don't care how proper I talk. Them white folks knew it when they was talking to a black person.
Because it's based upon
tone.
My
My tone, and they would get they get snotty, like you don't know what you're doing. So then why not just speak Ebonics since they don't think I know what I'm doing?
It depends on your sector.
Man.
So like there's certain, even when I preach, there's certain material that something in me changes when I talk about it. There's a certain when I teach something, there's a certain I don't even know. It's like when you're in a basketball game, you get in the zone. Excuse me, you can't miss. When I'm teaching us something, the English language, I appreciate it so much. I also appreciate jargon. I also appreciate Ebonics. But I also understand that in certain situations, it's expected that you speak a certain way by that crowd
I was
of
just
people.
going to say, there's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
There is not always a time to speak Ebonics. If you're in a professional atmosphere, you should not be speaking Ebonics. You should be talking English because that's the people that you're communicating with.
Yeah.
And you don't want to talk on a different level than the people that you're communicating with. You know
No,
what
it
I'm saying?
depends. It depends.
Well, I would say, okay, when what we're talking about here, education.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going into my job and speaking on a homie type level when I'm talking to my superiors or to my coworkers. I'm not going to go into work using Ebonics because that is not the setting.
It's
for
not
that.
good to use it at court.
So
No, it's not good to speak Ebonics in the justice system. Please,
It's
people,
not.
as much as you
so
can,
you be
don't.
respectful.
Yeah.
You speak regular
Proper.
English, proper English. In schools, in work, in courts.
So
that kind of
Ebonics
thing.
the question is yes or no?
I would say it's situational. At home, with your family, with your friends, it's completely acceptable.
So it's a party language.
That depends.
So it's a party language.
No, I think.
When you with the party, when you with the right party, you can do it. When you not, you don't.
Oh, that version of the party. Okay,
Yeah.
because I think, like for me, I don't like when people look at Ebonics in the essence of what it is wrong. I think situationally, like Letha was saying, yes, it's not appropriate in certain arenas to use Ebonics, to use jargon, to use words that are culturally inappropriate for the
Some
setting
would think
that you're in.
that some people are being lazy.
And some people are.
Right.
Some people are not being lazy, but there are some people, and I hate using that word lazy in this context, but they have the opportunity to be a ambassador, and they don't. That's their choice, 100% their choice. But I live by that motto. If I can be an ambassador for my race, for my culture, for my gender, for my economic background, my socioeconomic status, if I can choose or if I can make the choice and given the opportunity to be an ambassador by using that proper English, then I will, because I want to shed a positive light on my people, on my ancestors. I feel like, when someone says, my family sometimes used to laugh and say, why are you talking white?
Right.
And I would say to them, why is using proper English? First of all, the phrase, why are you talking white, is incorrect.
When I went to Chicago, they say aura.
You just said it the same way twice.
Yeah.
No, but it's R. R don't have an A on it. So when I spelled my name, they wanted me to say G-E-R-A-I. And it's not Ara, it's R. And so they used to clown me because they used to be like, why are you saying it? I said R, and then I leave it alone. I don't add nothing to it, and I don't
hold on to it. I don't swing it with an umbrella.
I don't roll it. I don't roll it.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
But see, that to me is not Ebonics, that's culture.
Yeah,
Because
and that's
here's
what
the
I'm
thing.
saying.
I was watching a show, I don't want to say the show's name because they're not paying us.
Right.
Anyway, I was watching the show and these people were from the Bayou.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And I heard, first of all, I love to listen to them talk.
It's all day.
I can listen to them talk all day, and yes, I do laugh. And no, I'm not making fun of them. I just like
They
the way
have no idea
talk.
why you laughing.
You're right. I just love the way they talk because it's different
And it's entertaining.
than Washington State.
Right.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just no black folks.
Oh yeah.
I heard this white man, and he was from the other bayou. And I said, Lord Jesus. My wife was trying to sleep. I just kept hitting her, Geraldine.
You
Hear
go.
what he said?
Yes.
The truth be told, though, when I moved to Augusta, Georgia, that was the first time I saw anybody but black people with a southern accent. What really threw me off was when I saw Mexicans or heard Mexicans with a southern accent.
They got an accent?
Speaking Spanish.
Yes.
You can have an accent.
When I tell you, I laughed.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Can we find a Georgia Spanish speaker? I want to hear what Spanish sound like with accent.
It was revolutionary too because my thinking was so limited that I only thought black people from the South and white people from the South.
Right.
I didn't think there was any other culture of people, race of people from the South.
Right.
So the first time I heard two Mexicans, they didn't have to be from Mexico, speaking Spanish, I was like, is that Spanish? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, wow, that sounds weird. And then I was talking and I was using Ebonics and they would go, what does that word mean? And I was like, so like in New York where I come from, when we say hello, they were like, hey, what's going on? I'm good.
Yeah.
All right.
That's a whole paragraph.
So Ebonics is cool when you're in the right party.
Yeah. Any type of language is cool. Like we talked about cussing, right? Any type of when you in the right, hey, you know what I'm saying? But I think the way we rate Ebonics sometimes, we got to be careful to assume that people should speak a way that they haven't been trained.
Okay.
And then assume that it's a disgrace to our race, to our history, to our culture when we have not been educated in the same ways. So like,
So
I'm going to college.
I'll switch up there. If you're in a predominantly Caucasian atmosphere and you hear them talking, calling each other the N-word and trying to sound black and stuff, and they're trying to speak slang / Ebonic and all that stuff, do you get offended or do
Yes.
you just,
That's how you get offended.
why do you get offended? If
Because
that's how they're used to talking.
Because I feel like there comes a stigma attached to that that's unfair in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So as a black man, I don't get the opportunity in that sector, in that same sector, to show the appreciation value for my culture's ability to communicate without using long sentences or words.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get the same appreciation in the same way
For the
that they
language.
would. So when you say offended, I get offended that they, and my friends have done it, people that I know have done it, don't get the same backlash that I would get for saying the same exact thing with the same exact tone. So I'm not offended with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm offended with the way it's going to be received. So like we're laughing, we're having a great time. If I'm in a boardroom, or if I'm at a dinner or some foundation function, and I rear back and I laugh really loudly, people go, "Oh, he's a little, out of control." But if my white friends do the same thing, they're having a great time.
Right.
I get offended because that is the momentum that is used to further perpetrate this stereotype about us as a people, about Ebonics. So when black people use Ebonics, many times it's get looked at from a standpoint that they're ignorant, they're uneducated. Right. When anybody else other than black people use Ebonics, they go, "Oh, they must have been hanging around some ignorant black people."
Oh,
they don't get the same assessment.
It's not like they're ignorant.
It's not them ignorant.
People.
They've been influenced by ignorance.
Right.
And that's unfair to me because ignorance doesn't have a race. It doesn't have a culture. It doesn't have an economic standard.
Right.
Ignorance is just because of your exposure, experience, and education.
Right.
So I get offended because my brothers and sisters from Africa who learn English by coming here sometimes say words they've only heard, and they get assumed to be ignorant because of their status, because of their skin color. And my brothers who come from Europe or Asia, they get assumed we got to change their surroundings. We got to change their influences. And so that's why I kind of have, when you ask the question, do I get offended? I say yes, not with the individual, but just how it's portrayed, how it's received. And it's a handicapping agent for a lot of different people.
I've heard people say that not only Ebonics, but like text talk is making our youth dumber. How do you feel about that?
I disagree, man.
They feel like
it's not dumber,
because
but
they communicate in Ebonics
it's not
or
like
text
it's
talk
shorthand.
that they're not educated. So
It's not shorthand that you can use on some legal paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That is just that's a shorthand of a whole different language and a whole conversation. But it's easier because that just goes to show you how much they text a day.
Mm-hmm.
If you're texting all day, every day, then that language becomes your language.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, but I've actually had somebody tell me, I think that they should ban text talk, and I think that they should ban Ebonics because
horrible.
Now our youth, they only talk in that, and they don't know how to use proper English.
So what I found interesting was when the printing press was first created and invented, the rhetoric across the nation, across the world was that books are going to change communication in the worst possible ways. These kids are going to be walking around with their heads down, reading books, and no one's going to talk to each other. Ironically now, when you watch television, when you see people in airports, my wife and I was out one day, and these two older people had to be in their late 50s, early 60s, reading a book. Now it's deemed acceptable. Now it's almost like you're intelligent if you're reading a book before bed, if you're reading a book while you're waiting for the train. So I think in 20 years, if you're not texting, you're gonna be like, you're way behind the power curve, like reading. So the times of acceptance change, even with language. What used to be acceptable language back in the day, now it's unacceptable. And now what used to be unacceptable is acceptable. So telling young people, like for example, with politics, legislation, sending an email used to be an insult. Right. Everybody wanted to shake hands. But now, sending an email is probably the best way to communicate with your legislature. If you want to go shake their hand, you might only get 5 or 10 minutes. So the time's always shifting. So what's inappropriate now, I think a generation from now will be the standard, will be the appropriate way. Nobody is going to be said, I guarantee this, if I live long enough, hopefully I do, it's going to be said, sending a long text message is intrusive. Work on your shorthand text messaging. Work on your emojis. I got this emoji thing that I can send a message through. My kids think it's the most amazing thing. I thought it was the dumbest thing until I saw myself.
Then you like the
This is cool. Yeah. I look good. And my face is all clean. I look young.
I don't even look at the people when I'm doing it. You're looking at me. My sister be like, you're looking at yourself, ain't you?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep. I'm liking what I see. But I think time will change. I think language.
Maybe we should do a whole show like that.
Or what, emoji?
Yeah, we're like, if we made our emoji face.
I did. I got mine.
That
I have
would be
an
me.
emoji face.
I think we need to figure out some technology
I don't
where the
have
whole
emoji
show
It's just our emoji face.
is our emoji face.
I'm down.
All right, let's write that down. What you got to get? You got an iPhone?
How
No.
come we do
Well, that's
that?
your problem.
No, I have a S9
Well,
Plus,
Ger-
and
You
Geraldine-
said it like it was a new
Geraldine-
phone. I got an S9 Plus,
Geraldine probably has an extra
372
iPhone somewhere.
horsepower.
Actually,
I don't
I
like
gave
iPhone.
that phone to Lamontra.
Oh,
I'm sure
did you?
she'll let me do an emoji.
I don't like rotten apples. I mean, what?
I'm sure
You don't
she'll
like
let me
rotten
do an
apples?
emoji show.
You're saying that iPhones are right now?
What is an Android? Somebody tell me what an Android is first,
Right.
then we can talk.
It's an alien.
It's
I'm
an
cool.
Android. No
I
one
could be
can
an
ever
alien.
tell me what it
I
is.
could be an alien. I'm good with that.
See, that's
You want to be an alien?
I'd rather be an alien than a rotten
you'd
apple.
rather be an alien than a rotten apple.
Right.
That is totally Ebonics.
Totally.
I'd rather be an alien than some apple that got a hole in it. That's straight Ebonics. Hey, can't nobody do nothing with you. You from a different country or planet. Is it country or planet? Are you an alien from a different planet? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I just think I think if you're gonna speak Ebonics, do it correctly. Don't be saying stuff that just crazy and don't make sense. Speak
Right.
it crazy, and then in the right context,
Mm-hmm.
And then we can pull up. Are you pulling up yours?
Yeah.
Our emojis.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go.
I look pretty. Hey, bro, I look pretty good.
I have 4 different ones.
Yeah.
You got 4.
Well, because my hair,
Is
my
it
hair
emoji?
changes.
Is it emoji?
Look, 'cause when-
Ebonics.
Yes.
Because see, it depends on if
Hey,
I have my
I'm
wig
your
on
emoji.
or if
No,
I
that's
have
me.
my
No,
This-
hair.
that was me
follows you.
talking.
Look,
It'll
it's
follow
looking
you.
at me.
Oh,
Oh, I know. I can do that one
No,
too.
you
all
can't.
right,
Just the
we're
ones that are
gonna
Whatever.
get ready to
Anyway.
wrap this. I think we're
Are you
done
not
talking
gonna do
about
that
the Ebonics and
No, I like talking about
Ebonics.
Ebonics.
See, we.
Because let's talk about
talk about
Ebonics in the
dances.
preacher sector.
The what?
In the preaching
See, that's
sector.
when I have my blue hair.
Let's talk about cussing in the preaching section.
What?
Yeah, we're gonna go to Ebonics in
We
the
already
preaching
did
section.
cussing. What?
Let's talk about Ebonics. In the
All 3 of
preaching.
us are totally confused.
I'm asking you now.
What
Tell me about the Ebonic preaching.
Oh, so I don't like when preachers use Ebonics as a way to deflect the authenticity of the scripture away from the purpose. I don't
Example.
like when so you're preaching about a life skill,
Okay.
honesty, right? And then they talk about honesty, and they say, "Y'all know how we do."
Are you in
We,
the camera?
am I in the camera? Do I need that wide? Am I here too?
You see in the camera
Am
from?
I in the, oh, okay. So I'm like, okay, we talking about honesty, right?
Who's the director? She's the director.
Right.
Why
She-
am
well, you- I
the
mean, you-
director? I
you're
gonna be
apologize.
able
But I'm grateful that you were able
Can
to
you
make
clip
sure.
that up?
Okay, I just want to
Just
make
clip
sure.
that
So my
up.
people
Go
can
ahead.
see me.
Okay, go
Talk
ahead.
about that
What?
pastor, that raggedy Joe.
So-
No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't say they were raggedy. I'm just saying.
I'm just kidding.
You got, I mean, because in our
Wait,
charismatic
finish
church.
that. Finish that idea. You said.
So when you're talking about a life skill, let's just
Okay.
say honesty, right?
Okay.
And you're on the track and it's resonating with people, and some preachers feel the need to divert with a piece of jargon or a piece of a phrase because I guess they feel that they've gone too far into the instructional part of the sermon,
Okay.
and they just revert to this language issue just to make themselves or people laugh or make themselves feel better about who they are or not seem like their English is elevated. I mean, that assumes that Ebonics is ignorant. I don't like that
And
assumption.
I had to dummy it down. To
And I had to dummy it down in order for you
everybody
to get the
back.
concept. That to me is insulting. Ebonics to me is not a dummy language.
Right.
It's a language that I can appreciate the value of in the setting that it was presented and taught to me. Sometimes we call it code switching, right?
Right.
Knowing when to use Ebonics in the right. Because when I'm playing golf, they don't understand my language.
So therefore, you.
So I can't, it's like if I spoke a foreign or a different language from another country. I can't speak French to people who don't speak French.
Right.
I can't speak Ebonics to people who don't speak Ebonics.
Yeah, 'cause
So
what
it's not
are
like
you
I'm
talking
selling
about?
out or losing my whatever. It's like you don't understand when I say, yo, what up? Because if I go on the golf course and they like, good morning, Ty, and I go, yo, what up? Uh-oh. They have no idea what I mean by that. If I go back to my hood, yo, what up? They know what that means. I want to know what's going on around here. I don't want you to tell me good morning, because personally, I don't care.
Right.
When I say yo, what up, they start, hey, so-and-so is missing. This is going on. We got to do this. I say yo, what up in the golf course, they're like, he's mad. Because they don't speak my language. You know what I'm saying?
Bobby's angry.
Or you do that nod, you go like this. Then?
Oh, I did the head nod to this guy in Albertsons that I knew. And he didn't head nod me back.
And you was
And I got mad.
Yeah, like, dude, did you see my
And I
neck?
was like, I said, yo, we got a problem. And then he thought I wanted to fight because he didn't speak Ebonics.
Because you said, do we have a problem? He's like,
And
oh,
my
God, I'm
question
trying to
was,
get up.
have I offended
He's
you?
angry.
Right.
That's what I should have said. Have I offended you? Why didn't you speak back? I was like, yo, we got a problem? And I got the hands, because in the hood, we don't say, do I have a problem?
Yo, we got a problem actually means like 15 different
Like,
things.
you know what I'm saying? Depending on the
It does.
situation.
Because right there,
That's
context.
he
That's
felt
Ebonics.
challenged.
He felt challenged, he felt threatened, because he didn't speak my language. So,
Right.
like, if I'm talking to my friends,
You're asking him, hey,
I'm
what's
asking-
up? We got an issue here?
if I
He's
say,
like, "What?"
in the hood, if I say, hey, I'm about to punch this dude in the mouth, nobody moves. They're like, yo, what that means is Ty is about to go talk to this guy about a situation that's contrary to what we believe should happen. I gotta say all of that in my non-Ebonics world.
Right.
In the hood, I'm like, yo, let me go knock this dude out real quick.
Right.
They know we don't mean physically fighting.
Right.
Right?
No, because when it's time to fight, we don't talk.
We don't say
Yeah, we
nothing.
don't say
Like
it.
the whole,
Right.
you start taking clothes off, you start walking in a little circle.
Right.
You don't want to fight.
You just want to strip because it's hot outside. Like, but you know, it's so.
Now, caught me off guard. My freakishness. Caught me off guard.
The crowd is unhappy.
I know, right?
But nah, I mean,
I think it's where my joy is sitting.
We're going to buzz that one. Just
out of bounds. Out of bounds. Completely out of bounds. You're going to attack that. Not a time out.
All right.
Somebody come pick her up.
I know you're fine for that one.
Nah, I think it's important we know both. I think it's important we understand Ebonics. No matter what society you're in. Especially, you know, if you're in a position of authority, position of community influence. You know, I think it's because when people are speaking to you, you should understand what they're saying. You should try your best.
I think if you don't understand, please ask.
Find
the
a translator.
questions. Just ask
For
the
real.
questions.
Yeah.
Ask the questions of what you want to know.
Yeah,
What do
yeah,
you mean
yeah,
by
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Well, because I'm not understanding what you're saying.
But then you can't be.
this particular.
The other piece of it is you can't be offended if
No,
someone
right.
who doesn't speak that language asks you,
Right.
can you say that in a way that I can understand?
Right. You can't be offended.
Because both sides sometimes get offended. Both sides, what I mean by both sides, the Ebonics speaker and the Ebonics hearer that doesn't speak Ebonics, because
Right.
sometimes get offended. Or they be like real condescending. What are you trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say, man. You know I don't know how to say it any other way.
Interpretation. It's the
Or,
interpretation.
yeah, you can't be like, why are you trying? Again, the other side of it, you're talking white. Well, why? Because white folks got Ebonics too. They just don't call it Ebonics. It's called
Right.
something else.
Right.
It's called jargon. It's
Slang.
called slang. So every culture has their version of that. But I think for me as a black man, it's really insulting when I hear, especially black people say, "You sound white,"
Right.
and I go, "What does sounding white sound like?"
Yeah, when I used to go to California and visit my family all the time, they'd be like, "Oh man, she sounds so white." I was like, "Why?" Because I'm educated. I don't understand. And because
But that's a low key insult.
that's my
though.
business voice.
That's almost a low key insult.
I'm not
them.
even.
It's like a low key insult for them, especially if a white person says, "Oh, you talk," or if they say, "Oh, you talk real educated."
No, I'll give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you. Here's the one: home run ball. You wanna hear me snap? Say this to me ever in life. You're so articulate.
Why?
Because you're not supposed to be educated. You're supposed to be
Because the
dumb.
assumption now becomes
Does
you're
it- wait, wait.
surprised.
Does it depend on who it comes from?
Yes.
Yes.
And when it comes. Because
Exactly.
if
Because if I'm like, man, Ty, you so articulate.
that's different.
Yeah.
But if I get invited to speak, and that's when I always get it. I've been invited to speak to a group of people, whatever that collegiate group of people, academia, social work, whatever it is.
And then they're shocked.
And they're
when-
shocked that I can form a full sentence.
Right.
You know,
So
I
then
was
the question
invited to be
becomes-
here.
Well, no. The real question
they
is,
didn't
what
see
did you
you that
invite
way.
me here for?
For.
Yeah.
Right.
Was
If
I
you
just-
didn't-
So was I supposed to be your
you didn't think I could-
amusement?
Right. If you didn't think I could talk.
Was I supposed to be your something to talk about afterwards?
Absolutely.
Like,
Now
hey,
you're so
we
shocked.
knew
that-
you wasn't, you know.
You read my
And
credentials,
now
my
he's
bio obviously been
disappointed,
vetted.
And now they can't ask you.
Now they
to
can't
come
ask
back.
me
So
questions.
you're like that. You were the token, and they didn't know that you were gonna actually have
Well,
knowledge.
Come on,
Letha
but-
talking hard.
I'm
today,
like,
ain't she? You was the, what did you
Turn
want?
it out
You
right
was the
now.
token?
I feel threatened. I feel threatened.
But like, for because I mean, and that's what I think. I get a little insulted and upset for whatever gender. Don't matter what gender. because I'm like, when you looked at your program or the whatever, the promo, whatever, and you saw the name, you used to have
Tyrone?
bio.
Yeah, they
I don't
have-
even put Tyrone on mine no more.
What do you put?
Ty.
That's still that.
No, because they
No,
don't know.
because I get called
Most Thais are
Tyler,
Asian.
which is
Or
my
Tyler,
little son's
yeah.
name. I get called a bunch of other things. But when I say Tyrone, they know.
Yeah,
Oh, if I'm going to a group home, I put Tyrone.
yeah.
If I'm going to a legislator's office, I put Ty. Or sometimes I'll just put T. Dot in my last name.
Geraldine slang.
Yeah, all by itself. The whole name.
The
is
whole
like-
name is like.
That's right, it's Granny Thug.
Yeah.
That's a Granny Thug name.
I can't.
Oh, let me whip my dentures on you.
Every grandma named Geraldine is so mad at us right now.
So
Right.
Joy for Her Praise supports any language that you want to talk
Even Granny Thug. If you speak Granny Thug, we
Even
support you.
I want to tell you, if you're talking to any one of these hosts in any language that you're talking,
I thought
please
she
make sure
said-
we know what you're talking about.
I thought she
And
said
don't
something else.
drool.
Me too. It
If
kind of
you
come
talking
out
to
on the
any
way.
one of these hoes.
Ebonics is in me was like,
I said host.
you gotta say that T harder.
Thank you for joining us on Joy for Her Praise. I know it's Geraldine.
I'm like,
Other time.
I guess.
Deuces.
We are the hosts.
She said, if you talk to any one of these hoes,
I said host.
I said, what?
Make sure we know exactly what you said.
I don't sell my